So, let's see. Hi. Well, welcome to my channel. My name is Clara and my channel is Clara of the Wood. I want to show you guys an update on the altered book that I've been doing, where I am turning a book that was once basically cult literature for kids. It's from the IBLP, which is the Shiny Happy People cult. If you saw that documentary, the Duggars that were on TLC for a really long time, they're in that cult. So my mom was in that cult when she was a kid, and so this book is from. Oh, really? So this was from when she was a kid, and I am now turning it into a whole bunch of art and kind of sharing sort of my process of like healing from religious trauma while I do that. Yeah, it's basically like a healing art project, mixing together deconstruction and the healing that we need after experiencing a lot of religious trauma and cult indoctrination and all of that stuff. You can see I talk somewhat more about my background and my mom's and where all of this is coming from in some of my other videos, which you can check out. But yeah, today we're gonna go through this and I'm just gonna show you what I've been doing so far. I've been working on it for about 6 months now, so it's kind of a nice half-year update on where it's at. Oh yeah, okay, Percy's saying like and subscribe if you want to. We'd appreciate it. All right. All right. So let's get into it. So this first part, I'm gonna do more here, but they praised me for my vulnerability. They shamed me for my vulnerability. Now they will fear me for my vulnerability. I read this one in my last video on this book, so you can hear me read it there if you want to go watch it. I'm gonna figure out a way to write this in here, but I wrote, "You can plant me full of horrors and I'll rip them up and compost them to feed the life I've chosen, to nourish what is healing and true." You can see I left the copyright bit here. So it used to be called the Institute of Basic Youth Conflicts before he changed it to the Institute of Basic Life Principles. So yeah, it used to be even more obvious that he was focusing on teaching kids, which is wild because there is not a single thing in this book that is developmentally appropriate or good for kids, in my opinion. In my opinion as an educator. This is a Virginia Woolf quote. "It is only by putting it into words that I make it whole. This wholeness means that it has lost its power to hurt me, perhaps because by doing so I take away the pain, a great delight to put the severed parts together. From this I reach what I might call a philosophy, that we, I mean all human beings, are connected with this, that the whole world is a work of art, that we are parts of the work of art." Think about this. "What a fool I'd be to trust such authority again, because when the umbrella blew away, the torment subsided, and the sun was nurturing and kind." So, the whole umbrella of authority thing, if you've heard of that, it's a Bill Gothard IBLP thing. It's very abusive. So these are areas where I haven't finished, just continuing to go through it. This one I've added a lot more to since the last update, and I really like how it's turning out. Still that quote from Clarissa Pinkola Estes. "So if women must, they will paint blue sky on jail walls. If the skeins are burnt, they will spin more. If the harvest is destroyed, they will sow more immediately. Women will draw doors where there are none and open them and pass through into new ways and new lives. Because the wild nature persists and prevails, women persist and prevail." That's from the book Women Who Run with the Wolves. And here, this is something I wrote a long time ago now. Back in 2018. I'll read it. I am small. The universe, everything is endless. What is happening now is less than a blip, less than an atom in a lake. Cup your hands, let the water run through your fingers. This all will pass. Rest in the knowledge that you are not mighty. What you do is not of that much impact. You are small. Revel in being small. Your burden is light. Your hands can hold so little. This is good. It sets you free. You are a part of the multitude, a part of the universe, a part of the earth, the energy, the chaos, the question. It is all good. Your smallness is your gift to live, to forgive yourself, to listen to yourself, to meet your own needs, to be kind and gentle with your heart and your spirit, to trust the journey, to trust yourself. You will choose what is best and right for you. Only you can know what that is, and you will. You are small. This is not everything. You will be okay. I'm pretty sure I wrote this kind of like to myself in therapy once, back in college, when I was kind of like, first time I was really letting myself question all the big stuff. It's a glimpse into what I find comforting. What I want us to remember is that only very small-minded people have it all figured out. This one's very much still in progress. Yeah, back to like what I read in here. I know a big part of why I find that smallness so comforting is because growing up in like that evangelical world, and especially in like the like sort of radical charismatic space of like IHOP, International House of Prayer, Kansas City, and stuff like that, which some of what my background was, there's just so much pressure. You really are being told like so much rests on you, and there's so much weight consistently being piled on you, not just to like be good and to not sin and to live in perfect alignment, but also just like the pressure and those guilt trips. Like an example of what that could look like is there was one time I was told as a part of a really big group while I was working at a camp that every single one of us was women, girls only, were responsible for every single sinful thought any man had ever thought about us. That was a wake-up moment for me. It was a big ol' like, holy crap. I don't believe this. But yeah, that's insane. That's an insane kind of pressure, and it doesn't make any sense. And it's not biblical at all. There is a lot of verses that say the opposite, actually. But yeah, that's another one of those kinds of things where it's just like the weight of the world. And isn't that supposed to be God's job? Isn't that what faith is supposed to be for? But anyway, here I put, you're allowed to imagine a version where you got away, where you were protected, where you were safe. So much of this book he uses like pictures of hunting, and you'll see more, but like animals being hunted and killed and dying, and there's a lot of like fear woven in on purpose. This is just, I'm not quite sure what I'm doing with this yet, but I think I want to cut some shapes out and stuff. I'm going to do a whole video at some point soon-ish where I'm going through like more of the actual teachings and like the way he interprets these Bible stories and stuff to kind of talk about how twisted and weird it is, because it's not your like normal interpretations of these things. I wouldn't say they're uncommon necessarily, because in certain circles they definitely are fairly common, but yeah, I'm gonna just do a video on this because there's a lot to say. There's a lot to say, and I want to get more into like the details, which I can't really do right now. So that will be coming. Paint and textures. This is like, well, I gotta say, this authority thing seems like a scam. What if you don't need forgiveness? What if you're already enough? What if the point was just to exist? What if they actually know less than most people? It says, it hurts so much to be in touch with the essence of us. From an Aurora song. One of my favorite musicians. My most played musician of 2024, if you're curious. Could you believe? We just wanted to be safe. We just wanted to be loved. We never wanted to be perfect. We just wanted to be young. So I've got a little up here. It says, there is a small voice in my head that says, or that keeps saying, I'm sorry for hurting. How do I let her know that it's okay and our pain makes sense? Is it flexibility or evolution? Ooh. Sacrilege. Evolution. I was raised with like young earth creationism and all of that, so yeah. Does that count as fundamentalist? How long will the small remain the collateral damage in their endless holy war? It's me, 9 years old, my science fair project, my little sister in her lion costume, and then these are both kids I worked with a long time ago. Miss them. Really awesome kids. I hope they're doing all right. You can trust your many ways of being. I'm trying to decide still what I want to do on the rest of this page. To really understand life, you have to go outside. You have to observe the earth. You have to learn about death and decay. Only fools ignore the roots. We are intricately interdependent. Let this be a hope-swelling truth. I've got a lot more I could say about that, but I think I'm going to wait until I've got more thoughts, like, you know, already in words for you. This one, sorry, I can't. I'm busy meeting my own needs. Doing this page, it says, sorry, I can't. I'm busy meeting my own needs. And I was saying before my camera died that this whole book basically is grooming kids to completely cut themselves off from themselves and just center their parents, especially their male authority figures. Oh God, it's bad. There's a lot of that. And honestly, that's part of why I've been so angry, because it's so toxic. It's so backwards. Like, that is just so backwards from how, like, development and parental child relationships and healthy community, healthy families, like, are. The kids are supposed to be the focus of a family that has children because they're children. Like, I don't... It's so dumb. It's so dumb. And I just get so mad because it's just like, that's literally what you're biologically programmed to be doing as a parent, is prioritizing your offspring. That's the whole biological thing. And yet these people have managed to completely turn it upside down and make it all about the father. And it's just disgusting. It's disgusting. It's so stupid. It's so outdated and patriarchal and dumb. And it's just so bad for everybody in it. I'm sure the men don't feel super sad about it, at least the ones with power and authority and people they can subjugate and torture, basically. But it's just, there is not a single aspect of it that is healthy for development or healthy for the child, healthy for, like, or setting them up for success in the future. Like, no part of that is making them able to be competent, successful, fully functioning, adjusted adults. So yeah, maybe that's part of why I'm a little angry. Because it's like, I'm still dealing with this shit. I'm still trying to unlearn and shed all of this conditioning. that says I need to center a man. I'm over it. I'm so sick of it. Okay. This one, I do have little things written in it, but you can't really read it so much anymore. But I think it's fun. I'm enjoying. I like where that one's been. Here, thank you. Alertness is just the predator's word for hypervigilance and anxiety. I told my therapist about that one, and she was like, "Yeah, sounds like it." Sounds like they want you anxious. They want you tense. Okay. Your fear does not keep you safe. The funny thing with this one too is when I first wrote it, I was like writing it to kind of the people in the cult still, and in that worldview. Like the fear of demons, the fear of the demonic is kind of the motivating factor behind a lot. I won't say all or almost all, but it might be like almost everything, it feels like, is motivated by that, by fear of some kind, fear of demons, fear of all of it. So toxic, but I've realized I'm also need this message, you know? It's trying to show up, trying to talk about these things online and be open and vulnerable and know that there's still people who know me who don't agree or like what I'm saying anymore and have a problem with it. I've lost friends, lost a lot. And that fear is really hard to shake. So conditioned with it, you know, it makes sense. It's hard to let go of, but the fear of being rejected or the fear of being judged isn't keeping me any safer than the fear of demons kept my family when I was growing up, you know? Okay, I have the mic plugged in now, so if the audio is bad for a little bit, that's why. Apologies. I wrote a lot on this page. I cannot hold constant space for those who reject my complexity and grief and pain. I must cut myself free. I must tend my own needs. I must tend my own needs. I must tend my own needs. Yeah. Here, I've been practicing drawing some little lightning bugs, little fireflies. I wrote, sometimes I think they just hated that I made my own light. Still figuring this page out. And this one we've got just put some envelopes in so I can use them as little pockets. This is still surprised by the stories I find myself in. Why do you insist that we are prey? For alertness. See, it's like he uses these verses like, prudent man foreseeth evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. And it's like, does that apply to kids? That's why I wrote like crossed out man and wrote child, question mark. Really? Does that apply to children? Because that's what you're writing to. That seems a little off base. Most of these pages aren't done yet. They're just in the process. This one is that one where he's, God, basically blaming Tamar for the assault she experienced. So if you want to see more, one of my videos, Cult Book for Kids, I talk a lot more about that in that one. So you can watch that one next if you want, if you're curious. It's pretty dark. The availability thing is one of those, you know, virtues, character traits. That's what all this is about. That's just so weird. It's so weird. Why do kids have to be available? Are you kidding? That is so bizarre. You want kids to just sit around in a holding pattern? No, they're supposed to be playing, learning, exploring, reading, doing things, goofing off, writing weird stories. Like, there's just no allowance in this for kids to be kids. And I freaking hate it. So that is abusive. That's damaging. That is so damaging. To not let a child be a child, for a child to grow up feeling like they can't be a child, that's damaging. That's abusive. That's harmful. Sorry if you don't like that, but it's just freaking true. It doesn't matter what these weird men say, they're wrong. The research absolutely does not show what they're claiming. It shows that we learn through play and fun, that we need open-ended exploration time and making time. We need to be able to problem solve. We need to get really immersed in things. We need to let our curiosity lead us, not sitting around being available. Not just everything depending on who needs us. Why are children what people are depending on so much? That's a little backwards. That's off balance. And there's nothing wrong with kids feeling needed and wanted. That's important. That's good. But to actually need them for you to survive, or you to have a good sense of well-being, or you to be competent as a parent or an adult, or to be able to manage all your other children, that's bad. Sorry. That's not healthy. That's parentification. That's very abusive. And I know it's still common. I feel for those kids. If you're one of those kids, you're going to be okay. But it's going to take a lot of healing. So be patient with yourself, okay? It's not easy to recover from that kind of thing. It'll take years. And that's okay. You deserve that time. You should have had that time as an actual child. So it's going to take time to catch up. And it's not about catching up. You're on your own path. You're your own person. And you've got your own life and calling or destiny or whatever you want. No destiny at all. You're on your own little journey, you know? So, but yeah. Adults really need to get their shit together when it comes to this stuff, because it is so bad. It pisses me off. Okay. This one I go at my own pace. These are some bleeding heart flowers. One of my favorite flowers. Here I put, well, first I've got here, we wrote, why should we trust men who claim they are wicked at their core? Sure, yes, they believe everyone is, but I'm not. I have been to my core. I have delved through my depths. I am not wicked. I am many things, but not wretched, evil, vile, or depraved. Their projection is their confession. When they tell you who they are and show you who they are, believe them. They claim the world is evil for a reason. It says there is a lot of pain. Do not force yourself to forgive. You will when it is time. And then here it says, but what about his college fund? So I put a little Encyclopedia Britannica vintage order form, so he can use that for his college fund. This one, I know I showed last time too, kind of seen it already, but still, it says perfect love. If perfect love casts out all fear, and God is love, why is there so much fear? And again, like you can see, he uses so many like really terrifying illustrations. I've covered up a lot of them, and I've torn out a lot of them, because when you're making an altered book thing, you can't leave every page in there. It gets way too packed. So but yeah, there's so many images in this that are just like genuinely terrifying, and it's really bizarre. So here this page I'm planning on doing like a watercolor ink wash or something over the top, but it says celebrate your survival, and then here it says the grief is part of the transformation. So on this one I wrote, it's okay to be angry at them. It's okay to hate that it stole from us. The loss, the grief is yours. Was it ever true friendship? Was it ever real community? I know I have damage, but it can't always be my fault. Abandoned and judged, I'm sorry I don't offer better answers. There are losses I'm struggling still to process, and I expect if I stay true to myself, there will be even more to come. I don't know what is best in these times, except to allow the feelings and let yourself acknowledge the freedom you get from not holding back for them. All the ways you held it in, the words you held back, the dreams you mislaid, the breaths that you held, and the thoughts that you caught. Now you're free. Free to speak the heresy, free to critique the game. Alone again, sure, but more myself than ever, more awake, more aware, more connected to what is beyond me than ever before. Every loss of a person who couldn't love you in all your fullness and your waning, like the moon, frees up space for a love that can. This one says, lucky child, there is much to learn, there is much to love. And then, set your wild spirit free. This one, our healing matters more than their reputation. Every time. It's true. Here, I haven't really done much in this one, but it says, this was funny because what leader was flattered by a group of neighbors and stumbled into their net? This is LOL Gothard. Not to say like his neighbors laid a net, but him surrounding himself with, you know, people that were in his cult and saw him as a prophet and never called him out on things, or, you know, didn't hold him accountable even when they knew better, even when they knew he was doing things that broke their own moral code. They said nothing. And maybe if he'd picked people that actually would hold him to a standard, that wouldn't have happened. Who knows? Doubtful. Narcissists really don't know how to do that. And this man seemed like he was a narcissist, or is. He's not gone yet. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. This one, can't read it really yet, but inherently worthy of love. Because we are. Even when they said otherwise. Okay. So this page, availability is rejecting ambitions that hinder us from being where we are needed. And there's the Bible verse, no man can serve two masters, for he will either hate one and love the other, or else he will hold to one and despise the other. How is it not two masters to have a pastor and a dad and God all with the same levels of authority? That sounds like three. And I don't think the submission thing, you know, the umbrella stuff, that doesn't make any more sense. Sorry, not sorry. Anyway, I wrote, I was not born to be a maid. Stop glorifying servitude, you lazy narcissistic predator. And I also wrote, like, this stuff makes me so mad. This entitlement to controlling kids, and especially women, is so blatant. With authority at the core of the teaching, they are impossible to learn or practice in a balanced way. Men will always hold power over, and so servitude will always favor them. Yeah, that's the thing with like all of the... There are a lot of verses in the Bible, primarily from Jesus, that say it's good to make yourself a servant, have a servant's heart, serve the least of these, serve others. You know, that idea is very prevalent, and abusive leaders enjoy that. And it's just always been funny to me, or frustrating, or obvious. I don't know how you want to say it, how I want to say it, but it's like, if you really believe this, you do it. Like, it just doesn't seem like they do. You know, it really does call into question for me, like, their actual faith and, like, belief in the scripture, because they don't follow it. They don't. They completely ignore all of that stuff and instead push it on the women and children. And it's so stupid. It's so stupid. It's like, if you really thought this mattered, if you really believed that, like, what Jesus said was what we are supposed to do, you would be the servant. You would be the one laying down your privileges and your money and all of that, like Jesus said to do. And you would be the one washing people's feet. You would be the one doing that. That's what it says. But I don't think they really do. They just see it as something to twist and use and manipulate, because otherwise it would look so different. One thing my mom has been saying for ages, because it kind of came up when we were first, like, when our church was first decaying into a cult. As you can see in my, like, one of my later videos, I'll show you the thing. Where's the fruit? We look at the fruit. So if it's not the fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control, if it's not those things, I don't think, it doesn't sound like you're really rooted in the right things, because that's supposed to be the fruit. Okay, I'm done with that. Let's move on. This one was fun because I was just playing with paint, and then it kind of turned into something cool. It's like a pile of gold. I'm gonna add some like stalagmites and stalactites and stuff. Anyway, I wrote, resist, child, or soon the dragons will rule you all. Or beware, I don't know. Beware, child, or soon the dragons will rule you all. Anyway, this one, still working on. We're turning these little guys into, make them little clowns. These are all little drawings that I cut out of the book. And I'm planning to do this spread and actually like film it and kind of talk while I do it. So that's going to be its own video. Here's just playing with stuff. Wrote, we heard your confession. We remember. We see your guilt. Pour your grief into the sea. Been reading a lot about grief lately. And this one, I'm so sick of holding back. I painted this one. I am more than my endurance. Okay, gonna glue this page together because you can see it's got a seam there that needs to get glued together to make it hold up better. And then here, yeah, see this one is another where it's just like, look at, I need to say this because to me it's like such a story already. Like just looking at this feels like it communicates so much, but it might not. So the punitive punishment authoritarian structure that like this fundamentalist cult and other groups adjacent to or connected to is so punishing. It's so harsh. It's very violent. It's very, very abusive. The fear's contagious. Fear's transferable. We're emotional, empathetic beings. Like when we watch, typically, most of us, when we watch somebody else being hurt, we also feel pain with them. Like it's not the exact pain, but we feel it. We understand it. We know to be afraid of that, to not want that experience, right? So to me, like that's what this is communicating, even though the story isn't like about that, but it's just like to put that right there. It's just, that just feels like such a familiar situation for some kids to be terrified watching while another kid gets whatever, in trouble, screamed at, beat. It doesn't matter. It's the same terror. It's the same like fear and control that they're trying to exert. And it's just so much of this, like why do you have to make it so much? But it's intentional. It's all a part of the control. It's all a part of planting that fear of fighting back, of walking away, of having different opinions, of arguing, of different, like all of it. You're just supposed to be terrified. That's kind of the whole point. Most people that have survived this and come out of this are very open about that. But it's not just in the IBLP that these things are common or are used. Like this stuff, whether or not somebody's ever actually been to his like conferences or whatever, these ideas really seeped in and infiltrated a lot of evangelical and like especially the fundamentalist ends of all of those groups. thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. I love your comments and hearing people's thoughts and questions and everything. That's where we're at. I hope you're doing okay and taking care of yourself and all of that. Who knows what's the world's gonna be like when I actually post this, because things are bonkers and not slowing down. So just keep going. We'll get through all of this, whatever this is. So yeah, I think that's all. Have a good one. Bye.